Obviously, you guys got news of the individual awards. Real proud of those kids that were respected by the coaches of this league. That they were chosen for those individual awards, very much deserving. Take into consideration what each one of them individually did to carry us with all the adversity we've talked about to make us once again one of the top 4 teams in this league is pretty remarkable. And as a coach, when evaluating my staff, obviously everything starts with recruiting, but then you also development is the most important part. Don't tell me who you got. Tell me who they become. And when I guess that's 4 years in a row with a first-team All-League player, Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year twice, 3 or 4 All-Rookie guys, 3 I think. Mike got All-Rookie. Sin got it. Did PJ get it? No. That's 3. So from a recruiting standpoint, obviously we're recruiting the right guys, and then don't tell me who you are, tell me who you become, which is a big mantra of mine in education. We've also developed them, and that's a credit to the guys on my staff, how hard they work and the people this university surrounds those young men with to help them grow and become the best version of them that they can become while they're students here. No, Dave, I disagree with you.
You mentioned, I think it was after the Ole Miss game, about a practice you guys had after Christmas, and the energy, the enthusiasm you saw in that. They came back. They were on a 4-game losing streak, and that gave you a lot of optimism going forward. Mm-hmm. Is that a practice that what's that practice like in the past? I mean, guys come off Christmas break, or sometimes guys sluggish. Like, what was different about that, maybe in that particular setting, that really gave you hope that this team was on the right track?
Yeah, there's been we did it once when I first got here. It might have been my second year, and then at K-State, I think we went twice. We've played the tournament in Hawaii, and that's on Christmas Day. But outside of that, I try not to schedule games around Christmas. It's a good time for everyone to get away from each other, disengage from basketball, practice, winning games, for everyone to take a deep breath, enjoy their families, enjoy the holidays. Since, think about it, basketball probably is the only sport that's basically playing during every holiday of the academic year, whether it's spring break or Christmas, Thanksgiving. We're always in while everyone else has a holiday that they can celebrate. We're the one sport that's always in the middle of it. So I've always tried to figure out a way that'd be a good window. There's years that we come back, and it tells me a lot about individuals on our team, like, that guy's not going to make it, because they don't come back excited about what we're going to do and what we are. It's more of a, here we go again. And it says a lot about that. These guys this year is a complete opposite. We got back, and those guys were jumping out of their shoes, their excitement, their enthusiasm, their competitiveness. They didn't come back like a team that was scarred from losing 4 in a row. They came back like a team that couldn't wait to get back on the floor and keep on taking challenges. And I went home that night, and I kind of felt good. I was like, wow, I don't know what the future holds. Because when I went into Christmas, into that little 4-day window there, I'm not into predictions and all this and all that, but I was concerned because we had 4 losses in a row, and we were such a young team. We were dealing with some injuries. There was a lot of unknown because I had never been down that road with a bunch of guys on our team. So there's a lot of unknowns. So as a coach, you're trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to manage things moving forward with guys I've never been through it with? And I was also still searching to find more consistency out of Chris. But when they came back that day, I was like, ooh, this is going to be fun. And it hasn't stopped. Hasn't stopped. We didn't practice real well going into the Oklahoma State game, and we tried to then play the right way. That's not who we are right now, and that cost us. And then we went into Missouri with our feelings hurt, and we got what we got. But outside of that, since that day in December, those kids have been real good.
Frankie, you just mentioned about trying to get Chris to be more consistent early in the season. Well, in addition to the accolades announced today, he was also named co-SEC Player of the Week. How comforting is that to you that your main guy is playing that well going into the SEC tournament? I mean, he leads. I can't believe that it took this long for him to be Player of the Week in the league. It's unbelievable to me. The league season that he had more double-doubles than anyone in the conference in league play. We're in fourth place. It's not like he was having good numbers in losses. He was having good numbers in wins. But it is what it is. I was disappointed for him. Not surprised, but disappointed for him. So I'm happy he was finally recognized as Player of the Week in this league. And then I'm happy that the coaches recognized him as one of the elite players in this conference. You go ask any coach in this league, I don't know what they'll tell you, Rick. I know what they tell me. I'm tired of playing against that guy. And they say that in the right way. I'm real happy for Chris. He everything he dreamt of when he signed up to come to school here, as far as what he wanted the experience to be, has kind of worked out for him. And that's kind of the way it should be. He's grown as a person. He's grown as a player. Obviously, he's tasted success. He's become a better leader. Heck, even his English has gotten pretty good. So I tease him about that all the time. But no, I'm real happy for him.
Frank, you kind of touched on it in the teleconference yesterday, but going into the tournament, not knowing who you're going to play specifically, how do you go about planning practice and installing scouting reports when you really don't have a clue other than the three teams that are in that side of the bracket?
Yeah, there's things that as the season went on, we did, and what I've done for the last couple days is kind of reflect and reevaluate. And now it's a matter of just cleaning up a bunch of stuff that maybe we did against Mississippi State or whatever, that we tried it, wasn't real good, so we don't even need to worry about that. So in essence, I'm going to say plays, because every time you play somebody, you kind of tweak what you do offensively for the most part. Our playbook gets to a certain size. We got to scale that back down and simplify it. Me and my staff, that's what my assistants are doing. They each are responsible for one of the three possible teams. It's a matter of later on today we're getting together as a staff and evaluating what we did against that respective team that was good, what we did that was not good. And then we also defensively, I don't know if you guys paid attention to the Georgia game, but I played a 1-3-1 zone that I'm not a big fan of as a coach. But I actually thought it helped us a little bit. So just implementing different defensive things. I've always believed in the 3-2 zone. For whatever reason, this team has played better in a 2-3 zone. So continue to work on that, which is something that I probably didn't spend a lot of practice time up until January sometime on the 2-3 zone. So just little things like that, things that we feel we're pretty good at, get reps at that, to stay sharp in it, keep growing in them. identify some things that we've tried during the course of the year that didn't work, and not waste any time on those things. But pretty much here, tomorrow is a us practice. It's not an opponent practice. Then tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Wednesday and Thursday. Over there, we can scale it back for one team. Now it's no longer it's no longer 3 possibilities. It's 2 possibilities by the time we practice on Thursday. So we'll do some more us things, and then start repping things that we might do against A or B. And then at night, Thursday night that is, we're getting back together, and then it's a full boat scouting report on an individual opponent.
With Hassani, he said the other day that it took him a while to hear your message versus the way you spoke when he first got here. He heard the tone more than the message. When did that kind of change for him, do you feel like, where he started being a little bit more receptive and a little bit more understanding of you in his career?
Yeah, the reason he didn't hear the message and he heard the tone is because he wouldn't listen. Wouldn't listen to Sindarius, wouldn't listen to PJ, wouldn't listen to anybody. So the players back then, that Final Four team, they basically stopped helping him. You know what they told him? Good luck with Frank. So when a guy that doesn't want to listen deals with me, it's going to be difficult. Guys that listen, I'm the easiest guy to get along with. Guys that fight assistant coaches. What I mean fight is they got excuses. Buzz Williams has a great line. Coaches, we can help you with every mistake you make. Can't help you with your excuses. And Hassani had a lot of excuses when he got here. Had a lot of reasons as to why he chose not to listen. Because that's a choice we make. Listening or not listening is a choice we all get to make. It's all part of our maturity process. And that's been his journey as a human being, is to eliminate the I have all the answers attitude and embrace, let me take advantage of all these people that are trying to help me. And when did that light come on? I think last season humbled him from a performance standpoint. In my end-of-year meeting with him, and I don't disclose a lot of stuff that I talk to players privately about, but I feel pretty comfortable with this. In my end-of-year meeting with him, I was not in a good place with him. And he told me, I'm going to work as hard as I can to re-earn your trust. And that was the last thing that we communicated in that meeting. And he walked out of my office, and if you would have told me, put a wager on it, I would have bet anything I own in my life that would not have happened. But I got to give it to him. He finally humbled himself enough to be willing to listen, to help others, to be a better teammate, to embrace assistant coaches, to come in the gym and shoot balls, to come in the office and watch film. He finally humbled himself to do all the things that good players do. And that's why I grabbed him. I can't remember the game, a week ago, 10 days. I said, isn't it a lot better? Don't it feel a lot better when you do things the right way? And he just smiled. And, so that's our journey as parents, teachers, whatever you want to call us, is to keep fighting until the light bulb comes on. And when people have a good heart, and he's got a good heart, he's never had a bad, some guys have a bad heart. That's, guys with bad hearts, not good. But he's got a good heart. It was a matter of getting him to get the light bulb to go on. And it went on. I think he was humbled last year. I think in his mind, he always thought he was going to walk in here and kick everyone's tail. And when he couldn't do it his sophomore year, and those guys used to, like, Dwayne Sin and them would tag team. Like, Sindarius would score on him every time, and Dwayne wouldn't let him cross the half-court line. Then they'd laugh at him. That's the truth. And then he had every excuse as to why he wasn't having success. So he wouldn't listen. And when he wouldn't listen to coaches or the players, it put him in a bad place. So it was hard for him to find success. Well, last year, that onus was on his shoulders. some of his ups and downs as a player, I think humbled him. I really do. And he realized, like, I better listen and get help.
Frank, in your experience in the SEC tournament, what separates maybe a team that has success playing 3 games, 4 games in 4 days, which is obviously really hard to do, and maybe teams that kind of get bounced early?
I'm probably the wrong person for that one. K-State, I think we made it to the conference championship in 2010. I think we lost in the first round every year, or whatever, the opening round, whatever that was. And here, I know the 2 years we played Wednesday, we won Wednesday, Thursday, got beat Friday. And the 2 years that we've played on Friday, I'm sorry, the Alabama year, whatever year that was, we played Thursday.
Played Friday.
What's the year? Michael's year? It was 1 year we played Thursday. Whatever. The times that we've played Friday, we've lost on Friday. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm the right person to give you an honest evaluation there. Like if I've been a part of a lot of conference tournament success, I have not. But in 2010, thinking back, you got to play 3 games in 3 days, and it's 3 hard games. And it's a matter. I tell players all the time. The regular season is about coaches and players trying to figure out who we are as a team. And it's a constant fight every day. Coaches and leaders and whoever demanding how that team needs to understand how to prepare the right way and take advantage of every minute so we can become the best team that we can. Postseason is about the players. Coaches, other than timeouts and maybe game adjustments, it's no longer about my wishes or my desires or who can our team become. All that's out the window. It's about the players. It's about the journey of the season, how connected it made our team to take advantage of what's in front of us. In postseason, you're managing an emotion that's different than the regular season, in the sense that in the conference tournament, the next time you don't win, you don't play conference opponents anymore. You don't have to worry about guarding Nicholas Claxton or Brian Tyree or whoever anymore. And if you're fortunate to play in a postseason tournament outside of your conference tournament, the next time you don't win is the last time that team ever practices or plays together again. So you don't need to burden the players with more pressure to perform, because they got plenty of it when they understand that, especially on winning teams. So it's more about the players in the postseason for me, and I become a lot more laid back in the postseason than I do during the regular season, because whatever lessons are there to be learned for that team that year, it's not time to teach lessons anymore. It's about winning the next game, because if not, your deal's over.
Kind of similar to Colin's question earlier. How have you been preparing, Keyshawn and AJ, your younger players, for this SEC tournament, not knowing who you were going to play? And would you say that you kind of have been prepping them since January, that this is a situation that we could possibly be in, and making sure that they're all on the same page going into this weekend?
Yeah, that's leadership comes into play there. And once again, I can't sit here and tell you postseason is about the players and then tell you that it's on us, the coaches, in the postseason to get those guys ready. That's where leadership comes into play. And young players will not listen to upperclassmen just because they're seniors. Just like players shouldn't listen to coaches just because there's a title next to my name. We're all human beings. We're not nameplates. And as human beings, we learn to either trust or not trust. And it's a matter of learning to trust the people that are actually trying to help you. That's what we're all searching for in life, is who's helping us and who's trying to use us. And if we follow whoever's trying to use us, shame on us, not shame on them. And that's where our upperclassmen have been real good this year. Chris, Asani, Even Mike has been pretty good with that department. Justin Minaya, kind of on the outskirts. He's never let his voice go deaf, which is so important. Those guys have been real good in that department. They've been real good in helping AJ and Keyshawn and Alonzo and all that. And because of that, those guys have listened to those guys all year, and that's why we've been able to overcome and end up in a place that we're one of the good teams in this league. How we manage it Friday night, I got no idea. I'm curious to find out, and I like what this team's all about, and I like their personality and their camaraderie and their willingness to take on anything that's in front of them. So I'm excited to go find out. But I have faith that those older guys are going to help those young guys the right way.
Your comments from Saturday after the game about
Michigan.
my parents paid for me to go there.
Should I act like John Beeline?
Under
You know,
the
he's a
table.
friend. I spent
Okay.
18 days in a dorm room with him in Russia. I can imitate him real good.
Eey. Scary. Collusion. Now you made me forget. Oh, your comment Saturday about bubble, not bubble, and people talking about you. So I don't know if that was heard by the people that need to hear it, but, you know, in your heart of hearts going into this tournament, what do you think you have to do? You have to win this tournament to make the NCAA? How successful do you have to be in Nashville to make the tournament?
You follow me on Twitter? I've been on Twitter 5-6 times in the last 6-7 weeks, and it's mostly been someone's called me and say, hey, go retweet this or put something about this, whatever it may be. So I've got on there, not to read, but to kind of, the other day I started reading. You know, and it's unbelievable how intelligent some people on Twitter are. I've had numerous people send me notes on Twitter because of those comments, like, hey, Coach, if you win 3 games, you get to go to the tournament. Wow. I had an epiphany at my house. I said, I figured it out. My God, thanks to Twitter. Everyone's bashing social media. Social media just made me smarter. God bless. I was so happy. I don't know what I would have done for the next X number of years that I get to coach if I didn't know that. Oh, my God. It was incredible. It actually made me understand yesterday watching Mike Young's team. God, come on, Mike, because he's a friend and he's one of the guys. I'm like, come on, if you win, you can actually do this. I just found out yesterday. I never knew that's the way it worked. It's awesome. It's unbelievable. I got no idea. Our job's to win Friday. Our job is if we figure Friday out, figure out Saturday. That's our job. Obviously, if we win 3, we're in the tournament, and it's no questions asked. And I want to thank those intelligent fans that from other schools, I might ask. That's who the ones that were sending me. Just how clear they were in that explanation that just enlightened me. But Phil, when I sat here the other day after the game, I wasn't trying to make a case that we belong and others don't. I understand how hard this is. I'm not going to sit here and try and discredit someone else to make us look good. I don't work that way. I don't recruit that way. I don't live my life that way. I told my son, don't you ever compare yourself against anybody else. You go out and you do the best you can every single day and be proud of who you are. That's what we do in our program. All I was saying that day, when I see the young guys on my staff that do monitor all that stuff, when they're angry because they don't even list us as the 4th best team in this league, that's disrespectful. That's just point blank disrespectful. And I'm cool if people disrespect. I shouldn't say that. I'm not cool if people disrespect me. But I'm more understanding if people disrespect me than if they disrespect anyone that's affiliated with me. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'm trying to explain it best I can. My whole point is that once I started kind of reading the so-called resumes of some of these other teams, If someone has 22, 23 wins and they've got quadrant 1 and 2 wins, I'd be pretty stupid to argue against that. But when teams have 17, 18 wins, we've got 16, and we've got 3, 4 more quadrant 1 or 2 wins than them, when our strength of schedule is that strong compared to those strength of schedules, then I feel I have a responsibility, since no one else wants to represent that, to represent that. People want to call me a liar, a bully, stupid, whatever. I don't really care. My job is to stick up for what I believe in. And I believe in that locker room, and I believe in what they've accomplished. Now, whether we belong or don't belong, we've only got one way of absolutely belonging. That's win Sunday. That's it. Outside of that, it's going to end up on other people's hands. And my point is not to say we're better than other people. My point's not to discredit other people. I respect winning too much to ever speak down on someone else's accomplishments. All I'm saying is pay attention to ours. Don't sit around and have an opinion that you had January the 10th. They're no good. They're lucky they won their first 2. They stink. I saw them play against Wyoming. They're the worst team in the history of the world. Get away from that selfish opinion from that one day and actually study what our whole book looks like compared to someone else's whole book. That's all I was trying to say. But thanks to Twitter, I finally learned that if we win Sunday, we get in the tournament. I can't thank those fans enough.
Andrew, and then John.
Since AJ went out, you had to tweak the lineup because a starter was out. You put in Hassani, but you also put in Felipe and took out Mike. Mm-hmm. Reason behind that, and then how have you seen that lineup? What positives things, maybe what negative things have you seen with that tweak there? Yeah,
but by the way, before I forget, no one's asked, and I don't want the day to end. And AJ's been doing more and more every day. We're going to make a decision on him Thursday at our practice over there. But we played Saturday. Is that what it was? We had a 30-minute morning shoot-around. He participated for the 30 minutes. He participated. What we did today was not live competition against each other, but he did the running. He did, and tomorrow he's going to participate in more stuff. And then Thursday, the plan is to try and turn him loose and see what happens there. So that's the plan with him. Once AJ had to step away from the lineup, I knew I needed to put Hassani in there. And then my concern, even with AJ in the lineup before I went to Hassani, is we're getting off to some really, really slow offensive starts. And my mind, as I'm trying to evaluate our team, I felt that Mike was struggling offensively. And Keyshawn is not where he needs to be as a consistent offensive player yet. And so I've got 2 guys in the lineup that offensively just aren't there yet. So that makes things harder for Chris to start games. And so in my mind, I had to make a change just to get us to start better. And obviously at Missouri, it was, I can't judge what we did at Missouri because I'm just telling you, we all had our feelings hurt. But at A&M and against Georgia, I think we started pretty good offensively. And that was the reasoning behind my mindset. So then I can bring Mike off the bench, and now Mike can sub in for Chris, he can sub in for Felipe, or sub in for Keyshawn at the 3. And then try to be careful of playing Keyshawn and Mike together a whole lot. Well, I was forced to do that in the second half against Georgia. You saw what happened to our offense there. But that's kind of where that decision came from.
And then Colin.
I guess kind of a 2-part question, kind of taking your team out of it just from a broad standpoint. The net rankings, you spoke earlier this season about some things that you liked and some things that may need to change a little bit. Where, now that the season's over, regular season's over, how do you feel about how those have progressed? And with it being in their first year and probably some tweaks needing to be made, do you expect the committee or think the committee should rely heavily on those versus, what they see with their eyes?
Well, the only thing that I've kind of picked up on the net that's, I don't know if I'm real comfortable with, is the inclusion, and it's a big percentage of it, of your offensive and defensive ratings. I thought it was great that they were incorporating that into the net when we were presented that as like we're thinking of doing this. But now that it's actually a part of it and we're playing, so if a team plays 10 home games and 3 road games, and then we play 5 home games and 8 road games, what do you think our offensive and defensive ratings on the road's going to be? Not as good as that team. So if we got similar win totals, their net rating's going to be a lot better than ours. And it has nothing to do with true offensive rating or defensive rating. It's where we played the games. So I think that's got to be figured out because that's not fair. I don't believe that my team should be judged on the same level with a team that played 10 out of 13 at home or 11 out of 13 or whatever. I just don't believe that that's the way it needs to be done. Anytime, I'd say this all the time, John, I say it to be sarcastic, but there's a lot of truth to it. We're not computers, we're human beings. And if we allow ourselves to make our decisions based on numbers, then I should be the richest man in the history of the world because I can spin numbers to get you to believe anything I want you to believe. And I don't know what our net is. Andy says 72, 78, so it dropped. It was 70. I'm pretty sure he said 72 after Sunday's game, but whatever. That's really irrelevant. I'm going to pick on one game at Wyoming. If we win that game instead of lose, our net's probably in the low 60s. That's the guess. If our net's around 60, people be saying we're in the tournament. Do you think one game should be the difference whether you're in the tournament or not? But that's what people do when they focus everything that they do based on a number. And that's not, I don't think that's the way it should be. That's just me. But that's, the committee has a hard, listen, I've been in that room with how they make their decisions. So I understand how they think and speak and the concerns and what they pay attention to. They're not going to sit there and say, well, this team has a net of 78 and that team has a net of 63. 63 go, 78's out. They don't work that way. But I think the net has to be tweaked because of what I said. Same thing with point differential. So if you win by 12 at home, you get a plus 10. You win by 1 on the road, you get a plus 1, which is more impressive. You understand what I'm saying? So now you're getting a plus 10, making it look like that's better than a plus 1 on the road. So I don't know. There's things that sounded real good. It's like I coach for a living. There's a lot of things I sit in my house, watch film, and I write my notes, and I come in the office, and I diagram, let's run this. And we get out there and we said, put it in, and I watch it 2 times, and I'm like, don't ever run that again. It's the dumbest idea I've ever had. It's the way it works. We have to, the purpose of it is strong. It's like everything else. It's his first year. I think it's got to be cleaned up a little bit.
I guess kind of following up on that, when you do look at a team's, resume or whatever you want to call it, what do you think are the most important things to look at when evaluating what teams deserve tournament berths and what teams don't?
Yeah, when you go, at the end of the day, when you're trying to figure out, like these 2 teams right here, which one belongs, which one does not. I truly feel that you better look at their totality of their schedule. I mean, record obviously is important. Where did you play the games at? I think that's very important. Who challenged their team? Who didn't challenge their team? I don't care what anyone tells me about conference affiliations not important. Give me a break. How can conference affiliation not be important? It makes no sense. Then how do you figure out strength of schedule if conference affiliation is not important? It's, you know, that's the stuff that I don't, when I hear that stuff, I'm like, stop. I've been in another league. With all due respect, every league is hard. It's not like this league is harder than that one. They're all very competitive in retrospect to our teams. But at the end of the day, we're trying to identify the best teams, not who had the best conference record. I think that's where the conference affiliation shouldn't be represented based on who had a conference record. Should be who's a real good team. And when you play in one of the elite leagues and you do well, I think your team becomes a good basketball team. You know, and then, you know, the obvious factors, who'd we beat versus, or this team beat versus who that team beat. Some teams have a net in the 30s. That's good. But if you actually pay attention to their resume, it's not because they beat the real good teams. They beat a bunch of in-between teams. And some teams' net, like ours, isn't real good. It's because we got a one bad loss or two bad loss. And that's what I'm going to tell you. When you sit down and you study two teams' resumes, they all, for the bubble, we all got a bad loss. Every one of us. There's not a team that does not have a bad loss. Every one of them has a bad loss. And so then it's, okay, so they all balance out. And you know, and you sit in that room and they put the teams, they don't put the team name, they put their resumes on the board. And you got two big screens. And in both screens, you got four columns. And it tells you quad 1, 2, 3, 4, quad 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way I was prepped that this is how it happens, they look. And when they look at quad 1, 2, 3, 4, if you got a lot of games in quads 3 and 4, they're like, take that team off the board, put someone else on the board. And then they look. And if you got a lot of 1 and 2s, then they're, okay, let's study this resume. And then they look, where did they play, at home or on the road? Oh, wow, they play a lot of road games. Oh, wait a second. They got a bad loss. Okay, I see it. They've got a bad loss over in the quad 4 over here somewhere. So what did they do to overcome that quad 4? Then they go back over here and they try to figure out if you made up for that loss. Were there injuries involved? Were whatever the situation may be. And that's what happens in that room. And but it's not comparing. The biggest mistake people make is that they want to compare the 8, 10, 12 schools that are battling for those last 4 or 5 spots to the 1 seed or the 2 seed. No, man, their resume, their 1 and 2 seed is because their resumes are completely different. They're going in as the CEOs. They're not coming in as the people who make coffee. When you're trying to hire people to make coffee, there's a lot more job applications than there are for CEOs. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And the teams in the bubble, we're applying for the people that make copies and make copies and make coffee. That's who we're applying to be. So there's a lot more resumes. So you have to study the resume a little deeper, and you don't compare that resume to the number 1 and the number 2 seeds. There's a reason. They usually, I've been a number 2 seed. You don't have a bad loss when you're a number 2 seed, or else you're not going to be a number 2 seed. And you know, so that's what I think takes place. And that's why I spoke the way I did after the game, because if you put up our numbers against the other people that are on the board for those same spots, I don't see much difference. I really don't. You know, do we have a bad loss? Yeah, we got a bad loss. But so does everyone else that's on that board for those spots. And then what we do have is more quad 1, 2 wins than 13 of the 15 teams that are on that, whoever puts that bubble together. I got no idea. The only bubble I made was a bubble gum, and I wasn't very good at it. But whoever puts that bubble together, you know. But so if we all got bad losses and they have one more overall win than us, then how are they good and we're not good? Does that make sense what I'm saying? I don't know. Got me thinking too deep.